What's up everybody, my name is Cameron and today I'm going to give you guys 7 strong tips on how you can build your following on Instagram. So tip number 1 is to make sure you have a niche or a theme for your page. So for example, let's just say if you go ahead and do food, just make sure you go ahead and post things about food on your page, and you can go deeper within that category. So for example, you can go ahead and say Asian food, Italian food, and just post things about that. So as you can see, this is a page that I made before the pandemic. It's about basketball, but it's a subcategory and it's about NBA basketball. So all my posts are about what happened in the NBA around that time. And you don't see anything about college or international. So my followers strictly like NBA basketball, and those are the posts that I keep consistently posting with. So make sure whatever niche or theme you have, make sure you stay consistent. So another important thing to remember is that when you're posting on Instagram, make sure your theme is the same throughout the whole entire thing. So what I mean by that is, let's say you post about fitness and then all of a sudden you make a post about candles. The people who followed you on that page want to see fitness things, not things about candles. So now all of a sudden your engagement goes down and then potentially people can go ahead and unfollow you. So always make sure that you keep your theme the same. And if you want to go ahead and make another page about whatever, then go ahead and make another page. And if you want to, you can use the current page to leverage that to make people go ahead and follow the other page in like your story or something. But for the most part, always keep your theme the same. So tip number 2 is having great content. And content is key for everything. So basically, if your content is good, people will like your stuff, and also, more importantly, people will share your content. And to gain followers on Instagram, likes are important, but it's more important for people to share your work. So most of the time, you're on Instagram, you're scrolling through someone's story, and they share something from another page, and you may like that post. You go ahead, click on that post, look at their page, and then you end up following them. So that's kind of the same thing that you want to go ahead and do. And basically, for content, what I mean by that, good content is making sure that if you have pictures, making sure the lighting is good, making sure the sharpness is good, because if you have a poor, blurry image, then no one's going to really follow you and no one's going to really like the post. So people tend to like higher quality pictures better, so make sure you do that. And if you have video, make sure the audio is good if you can help it, make sure the lighting is good, depending on what you record. If you can help it or not, then just go ahead and try to do your best with the video content. But like I said, likes are important, but trying to get those shares are just as important for you to go ahead and grow on the platform. So on my basketball page, as you can see, I try to do my best with bringing out the good content. So looking up pictures, having clear images of the players, and having good clear video as well. Basically, it's always about trying to go ahead and getting the most out of your page. So now I'm gonna go to my photo page, and basically it's the same concept. So as you can see here on this photo, I'll go to view insights and I have 1 share on this photo, but let me go to a different photo. And right here, as you can see, I have 6 shares. So it's important to go ahead and think about, when you go ahead and make content, is it shareable? If it's not shareable, then you're not gonna be able to do as well, just because of the fact that people aren't showing off your content. Because if you think about it, your followers go ahead, take this content, share it in their story, and then their followers see it, and so on and so forth. So the chain continues, and they don't always have to share it with their following. They can share it with people that might like the photo, and then that may go on from there as well. So when you're going ahead and thinking about your posts, make sure you always think about, is this content shareable? Tip number 3 is basically using hashtags on your photos. So a lot of people on Instagram who are trying to grow their page don't use hashtags on their photos, and that could also limit, your growth. Because when you go ahead and use hashtags, it's like having your photo posted again in that category, and that leads to more people finding you and potentially having likes and more followers on your Instagram page. So on my photo page, I have a whole bunch of photos on here, obviously. And on each photo, I have hashtags right here. So basically, whenever you post a hashtag under your photo, that photo will appear under that subcategory. And Now, if I was to go ahead and click on any one of them, of course, right now, since I didn't post, well, I didn't post it recently, basically they're not going to show up under there right now. But in this most recent category, people are always, looking up hashtags for ideas, and they just want to check out the places and stuff like that. Or if it's like for fashion, they'll go ahead and get ideas. But basically, as you can see, when people go ahead and look for other photos, and in your photos in the most recent category, they'll be like, okay, maybe this person's photo is, something that's worth looking into on their profile. So they'll go ahead, click your photo and see how it looks, and then eventually they'll go ahead and visit your page to see what your page is about. So that's why it's important to go ahead and use hashtags, and it's very underrated. But if you go back to my insights and look at my impressions, as you can see, out of the 247 impressions, my hashtags were 148. So almost half. But you can see how important hashtags are for your photos. So don't count them out, and make sure you go ahead and, whatever your content is, make sure you use relatable hashtags to your photos. Now I'm going to tell you guys two important things when it comes to using hashtags. So there's two things you want to keep in mind when using hashtags. Number one is the maximum amount of hashtags that you can use on a photo is 30. So depending on what type of content you have, you may or may not be able to get 30, but that's okay. So whatever your photo is, just try to use as many hashtags relatable to that photo as you can, but don't go over 30. Now, if you go over 30, Instagram will go ahead and see that as spam. So whatever hashtags you use under that photo that has more than 30 hashtags, then that photo won't appear under those hashtags category. So basically, your photo won't be seen by people, and potentially you'll lose out on gaining followers and gaining likes for that post. The second thing to keep in mind is making sure you use hashtags that have more than 20K posts, but don't go over 500K posts. So now you may be asking, well, why is that? Because if you go ahead and use a popular hashtag, for instance, let's just say on that basketball page, I post LeBron and I use the LeBron James hashtag, everyone is posting about LeBron James, and that hashtag has more than 1 million posts. So basically, if I go ahead and post that photo in the most recent category, it'll go ahead and just be drowned out because everyone's posting about LeBron. So my post doesn't stay up there longer. So if I use a hashtag like LBJ23, basically that has less than 500K posts, and if someone clicks their most recent category, they'll see that photo, and it can be like a day later and someone could be scrolling and still see my photo on there. So that's why it's important to go ahead and look at your hashtags and see which ones are actually really good. But I know a lot of YouTubers will say go ahead and use the most popular hashtags, but in the long run that doesn't help you as much. So like I said, make sure you use a hashtag that has more than 20K posts and no more than 500K. Now 500K is not the magic number, but it's something that I use. So you can potentially use up to 600 or 700K, but going any higher than that, you basically kind of cut your chances of people seeing your posts. And like I said before, that cuts your chances of getting likes and getting followers. But now I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. So right now on my Instagram page, I'm going to show you basically how I use these. So all these hashtags are relatable to my photo. And, like I was saying before, I don't try to use hashtags that are more than 500K, but more than 20K. So let's go ahead and click on Alpha Gang. And Alpha Gang basically has 555 posts. So that's a good hashtag to use. And, if you look at this photo right now, this photo was posted about an hour ago. And if I scroll down a little bit more, this photo was posted 2 days ago. So the photos stay longer on posts that don't have, they stay longer on hashtags that don't have a lot of posts. And, like I said, people are always clicking things and they'll go ahead and see your photo within the feed. And let's go ahead and look at another one. let's look at this photo. And then I go ahead, click hourglass figure. And so this posts, well, okay, they didn't give me a number. Let's go to plus size modeling and see what that says. So this post has 85,244 posts. And like I said, this photo was posted an hour ago. And if I go back down, click on this photo was posted a day ago. So as you can see, it's important to go ahead and use the correct use the correct hashtags, because if not, then it doesn't matter, if you go ahead and post, today or tomorrow. If you go ahead and use something that has a lot of hashtags on them, then they'll just go ahead and be lost in the feed. So like I said, just go ahead and make sure you review what you use. And yeah, that's pretty much it to hashtags. So the next tip is very controversial. I know a lot of people may say that that's a bad way on how to do it, but it is the follow for follow method. Now, there's a bad way of doing it and there's a good way of doing it. So I'm gonna show you the good way of doing the follow for follow method. And if you do it correctly, it could really help you out in your page growth. So as you can see, my page is about basketball, and it's specifically about NBA basketball. So it's important to find pages for me to go ahead and talk if they talk about NBA basketball. So whatever your page is about, make sure they're talking about a similar topic. So if you go ahead and post candles, make sure you're following a page that has candles on there. If you're a plus size model, make sure you're following other plus size models. But in my case, I'm gonna go ahead and look up NBA's page. And what you want to do is on the most recent post, like this one, right? Go ahead, click on there. And I want to go ahead and follow the people who liked this photo. And the reason why I want to do that is because those people are the active followers on this page. So if I was just to go ahead and, just click on the people who are just following this page, it's 62.9 million followers. Not all of them are active. So it's important for me to go ahead and get those active followers from this page onto my own page. And you could go ahead and, not only follow the people who like the photo, but also people who comment on the photo. And so what happens is if they go ahead and go on Instagram and see, oh, who's this page following me? Then they'll go ahead, click your page, and then they'll go ahead and see the content that you've posted. So going back to my original page, since they'll go ahead and see this, they'll be like, okay, this person talks about NBA basketball and this looks cool. And like I said, if your content is good and you're posting consistently, then they'll go ahead and follow you. And that's pretty much to it on the follow for follow method. So it's important to keep in mind that you don't want to go ahead and spam this. And basically, you don't want to go ahead and follow a whole bunch of people at one time. So the most important thing that you want to do is go ahead, follow 25 people today. And for the rest of the week, the next week, go ahead, follow 50. Week after that, 75 and so forth. Because if Instagram goes ahead and sees that you're following a whole bunch of people at one time, then what happens is they'll go ahead and view your page as spam, and they'll block a lot of actions, like you liking photos, making comments, or following people. So you don't want that to happen to your page. And then also the drawback to this is the fact that you're going to be following a lot of people that you don't want to follow. So it's important for you to set a limit for yourself and say, okay, I'm going to follow 500 people. After that, I'm going to unfollow these people. Now you might say, well, if you don't follow them, won't they unfollow you? No, not necessarily, just because of the fact that they may not notice that you unfollow them. And also, if they really like your content, they're really going to keep on following you. So don't worry about people unfollowing you if you unfollow them. But yeah, that's the method to the follow for follow method. And if you do this correctly, like I said, it could greatly help you out. And like I said on my Opinion Talk basketball page, that's how I grew that page. And I haven't really been on there since, when they showed The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. So I've had other things to do, and maybe I'll get back on there. But when I go back on there, that's the method I'm most likely gonna go ahead and continue using. But that's how you go ahead and use the follow for follow method. So tip number 5 is shout out for shout outs. So basically, you want to go ahead and find another page that shows up the same content as you do, and ultimately around the same followers. So basically, you hit up that person and you ask them for a shout out, and you post their content on your page, and they'll post your content on their page. And basically, you gain their followers and they gain your followers. So that's another way of gaining followers on Instagram. But also, sometimes certain pages may have a higher number than you, a higher amount of followers, and they may want a certain fee. So you go ahead and pay them whatever they're asking for, and then they'll go ahead and shout you out. But if you go ahead and do it that way, make sure that their page is active and make sure they're constantly posting, because sometimes pages won't post in like a month and they have like, you know, a whole bunch of followers, and that seems appealing to the eye. But if their page isn't active and you look at their posts and they're not getting a lot of likes or comments, then don't do it. You want to do it on a page that's highly active, that gets a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and, you know, a lot of followers, and that's worth paying for. And they might keep you up for a certain amount of time, or they might keep your post up there forever, depending on what that person wants to do. They could post you in their story, but those are the two ways of getting shout outs on Instagram. Tip number 6 is using, you know, whatever you have. So you may have Twitter, Snapchat, Reddit, Facebook, friends and family. Just using those resources will go ahead and also grow your Instagram. So you may have a lot of followers on Snapchat. You know, now you can, well, you always could put your link in the story. So you can do that for your Instagram page, put the word out on Twitter. So, you know, it's just using what you have that will go ahead and help you. So like, you know, a lot of times, a lot of athletes are just famous and, you know, they go up and sign up for Instagram and they have like 1 million followers in a day. So that's their leverage. So you just have to find what your leverage is and go ahead and use it to the full extent. But yeah, just think about what you have, you know, who's around you, and just use that. And that can definitely help you out in growing your following. And the last tip is basically staying consistent. So let's just say you make a post today and you don't post for it until next week. That will limit your post and your page from getting likes and followers, especially how the feed is now. If you post once per week, you're not going to be seen as much. So posting once every day will help your content be seen by a lot more people and potentially get you more followers. Now, a lot of times people might say that's spam. It's not spam. It would be spam if you went ahead and posted like 3 photos in one day, because people will get annoyed by you and then they'll go ahead and either block you, hide your posts, or they'll just go ahead and unfollow you. So you don't want to go ahead and keep posting multiple times per day. But if you can't post once per day, you can post every other day. But ultimately, you know, you posting a lot will go ahead and help you gain followers. But it's always important to stay consistent and always remember to do that. So just to recap, it's your niche, content, hashtags, follow for follow method, shout out for shout out, using your leverage, and staying consistent. So if you follow those 7 tips, they'll greatly increase your chances of going ahead and gaining followers on Instagram and keeping your page active as well. But that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to go ahead and try to answer them. And also, if you guys know of any other tips and tricks, please leave them down in the comments below, because we're all trying to go ahead and beat this algorithm and gain followers. But that's pretty much it for this video. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.